Welcome to the Travel Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Aylin Blanco. I interview successful industry professionals and share my personal journey to becoming a travel agent. The show is for aspiring travel agents and travel professionals at every level. My mission is to uncover the universal keys to thrive in this business. Join me as I take a closer look into the life of a travel agent. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Travel Agent Podcast. We are starting the year off again with a wonderful guest, and she is going to introduce herself.
Hi, fellow travel agents. My name is Lauren Doyle, and I am a boutique host, travel agency owner, and frontline agent, just like many of you. And I'm so excited to be on this podcast in the new year.
We are excited to have you. So I'm not going to stray from it. I want to know how you got started.
Sure. Yeah. The story. Everyone wants the story. So my mom, I grew up being a travel agent's daughter. My mom was in the industry. Oh God, when did she start? Decades ago. I think I was like 8 or something. And she worked in a brick and mortar, and she worked like actually ticketing tickets when you had to do old school style. And, she loved it. We got great perks. So that didn't change. I was a very well-traveled child and I loved it. We went on a lot of vacations. She actually went to travel agent school in New York City. We are from New York. And she would go into the city, and she actually got some sort of certification like in a classroom, and it was just crazy, old school. But her career changed. She absolutely loved it. Fast forward, I actually went through a very, very tough experience in my life, and I was really at a crossroads. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was down. I was depressed. And she had this dream, and she's like, Lauren, I think you need to finally join my team. And sorry, I have to back up. She was with a brick and mortar agency. 9/11 happened. She went to another agency. That agency went under, went with another agency, still brick and mortar. And then from New York, she retired down in the Carolinas. And within like a few months, she was like, oh my God, I'm bored and I need to get back into like doing this travel. And she's like, I think I'm going to become independent. So she decided to start her agency called The Travel Mechanic. Her name is Jenny Mechanic, so it really works well for her. And she was in this gated golf community and started her agency. Well, you can imagine that she was sitting on a gold mine because there were all these baby boomers retired with money, and then, boom, her business took off like crazy. I then went through my tough road that I'm sure many women go through. And it was very difficult for me. And at the time I was a teacher. And when you get to a crossroads in your life, you just realize you're not fulfilled. And sometimes these things that happen to us that make us just stop in our tracks and feel like we can't go on. But that's when great things are born, right? So even with the pandemic and how so many of us have been affected by that in different ways, going through something personally traumatic can have the same feeling on that. So when I was visiting my mom, I just wasn't happy with teaching. I was totally burnt out on top of my personal issues. And my mom had this dream, and she's like, Lauren, I think now's the time for you to join my team. I've always wanted to get into destination weddings and honeymoons. And she's like, why don't you head up that? You head up that division in our company. And company, let me just tell you, we were like 5 people. But my mom always had these big dreams, and I was for it. And I was like, gosh, maybe I should do that. So with teaching, you have a lot of free time on the summers, and we were done at 3:00, and I would help teacher friends and my friends. And I kind of started doing that on the side. I was still teaching. And then I luckily got pregnant with my daughter. And I was like, wow, I really now don't want to go back to teaching. So we relocated, my husband and I relocated down south as well. We're based in North Carolina in Raleigh. And that is when I went more full term, right? I got like rid of the teaching thing, totally took a hiatus and break. And I really focused on travel. So hence, 8 years later, I am here heading up our office here. We moved the main office. It is now in my name. I am the owner. My mom is still booking travel. She cannot let it go. But she is more of on the back end of it. And she is just so happy to pass it on to me. And we're super excited for what this year has to bring.
That's such a good story that you get to work with your mom and you are fulfilled and everything kind of worked out. I love it. So with that, since like you kind of were in the industry even when you were a kid, because your mom, I mean, like it's a full time, even if you're part time. So like you were in there.
Right.
What is something that you wish like you would have known when you first got started, even though like your mom was doing it? What do you feel like you saw her doing it, maybe you thought were super easy and you were wrong?
Yeah, so I think when I first started out, I felt so lonely. And I felt like, I was new into this industry. And I remember my mom brought me to like a sandals event. I don't think they do that much anymore, but they did this huge kickoff event in Atlanta. And my mom and I like slept over. We made like a whole thing about it. And I was just so excited. But then after that trip was over, I like went back and I was like, I'm in no man's land. Hence, guys, this was before Facebook and Instagram. Like this was kind of, I want to say, I don't even know, 2008-ish. So it was kind of before, or 2010. It was like really before everything kind of socially took off. And I felt so lonely. So that was my struggle with being a travel agent. I was just like, where are my people in this whole world of new people? So I think that finding your people, like my mom was always really good friends with a few agency owners. And then she got, some ICs with her. Her assistant was like her best friend. So she kind of created her own community. And I just absolutely love that from her. And that's what one of my big goals for this year is, to continue creating that sense of community.
So what are some of your big goals for this year?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just so happy to be in 2021, guys. I don't know if I'm the only one. And I know nothing magical is just going to like snap and happen. However, I just feel like the new mindset, a new outlook is just so invigorating and energetic. I am super excited that we have decided to rebrand. So as I told you earlier, my mom is totally passing this business over to me. And we're not going to get rid of the name. I love the Travel Mechanic. It's cute and people remember it. But I just didn't like the logo. So we are in the midst of kind of doing a whole rebrand, colors, fonts, logo, the whole thing, along with a fresh website. So that is number one off the ground to do for sure. So that's the first to-do list item.
Awesome. Starting a new year with a rebrand, I mean, I think you got the right idea.
Right.
So I'm going to get a little deep here because one of the things I think that entrepreneurs kind of find out late is how scary it is making huge decisions. Like when you work for someone else is telling you what to do, and if it goes bad, it's not really on you. But when it's you and it's your livelihood and it's all yours. So I want to know what one of the scariest like business decisions you've had to make recently?
Okay. Well, I think that it's been really hard to hold myself accountable. I am an honest person, and I just think that it is so hard every day to hold yourself accountable for your to-do list, to actually sit down, because you're right. No one is sitting here telling you, I need this by this deadline. Yes, your clients might want a quote by X day or whatever, but it is really hard to hold yourself accountable. And I am a dreamer and a doer, and I have so many ideas and so many things I want to do, but it's also the follow through. And I think so many agents, we fall short on this. I know it. I'm in the Facebook groups. I'm in your same Facebook groups. I am in your same circles at times. And it's always the follow through. And I think that's just so hard to overcome. So I think that's like a really hard thing to do. However, I'm finding that when we come up with, like, you take everything from everyone else, right? The courses, the Instagram, the social media, you have to rebrand, you have to do this. Like, you take all of that, right? And then you have to make it work for you. And that's where the real hard work comes. But I have found that you have to do the work. You have to do the work. Like, I can't sit here and complain anymore. You got to cut off the Facebook and Instagram, and you just got to sit behind your desk and do it. And it's lonely. And, you know, I'm a people person, probably like so many travel agents. We're bubbly. We like to be around people. We love talking about travel, but, you know, being an entrepreneur is a lot of freaking work.
You can say that 10 more times.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. So, because I agree, the follow through is so difficult. What kind of systems?
Yeah. So I have my teaching background. So I am just all about the Post-its, the list making, crossing that off. But one thing I'm so excited about, and I want to invite anyone listening to join, is I am coming out with 2 virtual co-working sessions, one in January, one in February, where I am just holding it's basically accountability session. And that I've been in a few recently, and it has changed my week because I block it off in my calendar because it is at a set time for a set amount of time. And when you go into this, and how I'm going to run it is, you have to say what you're doing. What are you doing for the next 45 minutes? You got to say it out loud. Then we put on the timers, you go work virtually, like with us, and then you chime back in and you talk about and tell what did you get done, what problems you had. So I just love that, and that's really worked for me.
Oh my goodness, we are on the same wavelength. I actually did one back in December because I also was in a course, and every week we had block it off, and it was 45 minutes. And you don't realize how much you can get done when you're not distracted, and when your other people are holding you accountable.
Yes.
I love it so much.
Yeah. So it's great. And you know what? It's also like, if you get that lonely feeling, having others, even though they're like little boxes on your screen, it still fills my bucket in some way. Like, I just feel better after those. I'm like, wow, I got something done. Like, you also get ideas from others, and it helps. So that's been worked for me.
That is so wonderful that you're offering that. And we're kind of on the same wavelength, because I'm also doing that same thing, having an accountability and networking sessions for my group members. I just think that, it does get lonely. And sometimes we do just need that other person just there to hold us accountable. So maybe we should collaborate.
Yes.
So with all of this like excitement of the new year and the new rebrand, what do you have in place to kind of still overcome the COVID stuff?
Right. So I have been really focused on staying present in front of people's eyes. So if anyone follows me on Instagram, I try to chime in every day. I know that sounds like a lot, but I just love stories. So I hop on there, and whether I'm making dinner or making a cocktail or I'm talking about travel, I try to stay in there. I'm like, my number one thing when all this went down was I've got to be transparent and authentic, because that's what I want to watch. I don't want, someone like, oh, we're perfect and we're traveling or we're not, like, no. So, I mean, there was a point where no one was traveling. And, I recently had to cancel a trip to Mexico, which I was devastated about. But I was like, am I going to hide this or am I going to be real about it? And I just showed up and I was like, yeah, I canceled it. And I talked about why. And I think that people feel that, right? Even your clients or like I do a lot of honeymooners, they are sad and sick about canceling and postponing. So I made that choice. But I think that showing up on social media has really helped me get through COVID with my people and will continue. So, I do sprinkle in some COVID stuff here and there, but I think it's just about being authentic. So, like, even, yeah, I have some stuff booked for next year for sure, and my followers know that. But there's some apprehension there too. And I think that's fine to talk about that. Like, we're all entitled to the real feelings. Okay, so I have this fear. I just have to be honest with everyone. And I'm sure other people have this fear, but I think that, like, we've had downtime, and during the downtime has been so valuable to me because I really had more time with family, more time with my kiddos, have gone in to just kind of relax, which I was not doing pre-COVID, okay? I was like crazed. So those are like the silver linings. I have a fear that all of a sudden this vaccine is going to come out and people are on board and it's going to be like rolling out, and then I'm going to be so busy again. And I already see it like slowly starting, but I feel like it's going to be a switch and things are going to go crazy. So I think it's so, and I went on this whole tangent about just showing up and being authentic. But, I really think we've got to prepare now for the future because, if you've been doing the work like I have, getting people to like, know, and trust you, working harder on social media. Oh yeah, this was my point. Planning it and having more of a strategy, I have found that I'm refining because I'm not going to have all this time to do all of this social media and do all of the things, the Facebook groups and the newsletters and all of that. Like, we know we all have to do it, but I think it's about becoming efficient and getting it done. And I think, being strategic is so important. But I find that don't use someone else's strategy. You have to find your own strategy. And I feel like a lot of courses out there, which everything I've taken has been great, but courses or, things you see on social, they have that missing piece. It's not you. So you really have to internalize it, think about it, and then use it for you, which again, that's where it comes in with the work. Like, it does take the work. You only could do it because you're selling yourself at the end of the day.
So you mentioned being efficient. So, like, what kind of systems have you put in place? Like, do you have an email marketing system and a CRM that you personally are managing and figuring out how you can manage that when things, when things start to pick up?
Absolutely. It is vital. And, I was really, and my mom and I were like, when this all went down, we were like, every expense we have to look at, cut out, because we have a team of agents too. We wanted to make sure everyone was taken care of, that we were going to try to, the vital things that we needed, we were going to supply to everyone to get us through this. So yeah, there were things that I had to get rid of. However, a CRM is a no, you cannot get rid of that. I'm a founding member with the Travel Joy. And that was the best decision in my career up to date that I made. Was I jumped on that bandwagon. And honestly, my mom was so supportive. I researched so many people, and I knew we weren't happy with what we had. And I just it was a risk. And I went for it, and it's been amazing. So yeah, you absolutely need a CRM. That's been vital. And then email marketing. I used to pay for it, but now I'm using MailerLite. It is free, it automates, and it's amazing. So for being free. So those two things have been amazing, along with social media, because that is also free.
So do you hire out anyone? So do you have like an assistant or a VA that kind of helps you? Because that's one of the episodes in February, Lord. One of the episodes in December that I found really helpful is that a lot of times we feel like we're the only person that can do something. And that's obviously not true. Like, somebody else can send an email and an invoice. So do you have an outside, or do you outsource some of your tasks?
Yeah, so I used to pre-COVID. I had an assistant. She worked for me, every week. It was great. But when everything went down, I just couldn't keep her. There was just no money. And honestly, when I look back, I realized I had to be more efficient. Like, yes, there are things I don't like, but there's so many tools out there. We have to learn these tools better and make it more efficient. So that's been a huge focus for me, just delving into Travel Joy deeper and deeper and deeper. And how can this work for me? How can this work for my agents and make us all better? And that's luckily the downtime that we've had, is just to kind of take a step back and look at everything with different eyes. So yeah, hey, I loved having an assistant because there was a lot of things I don't like to do in this job. But for right now, you can be such a successful travel agent without outsourcing. And I will say, my mom's all about the outsourcing, but I'm like, you still need to know your business. I signed up for a finance course. I am not a numbers person, but I was like, I've got to really learn small business finance. Like, I just got to get in there, and I hate it, but I can't turn a blind eye on it for eternity. So I am with a CPA that is teaching me the ins and outs of business and finance. And I think that, as an agency owner, and even if you're an IC, you essentially have your own book of business. You need to wear all the hats at some point. And you got to try them on and learn them and know which ones can be outsourced.
I agree. And I just think so many times, like, we push education, but so many travel professionals feel like that means destinations. No, boo. That means you need to have your attorney, you need to have your CPA. And if you can't afford those things, you need to figure out what that means for you.
Right.
So, like, education as a whole, as a small business owner. So thank you so much for bringing that to light, because I see that all the time. It's like, well, I got to learn another destination. Well, it doesn't matter how many destinations when the IRS is auditing you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have to do the unglamorous stuff. An entrepreneur is there are times that it's not glamorous, and you just got to get in there and do it.
Well, you have given us so much good information today. It was wonderful interviewing you. I can't wait to see all the wonderful things that you have coming up in the future. We will stay connected for sure. And you can find out all the wonderful information on the blog post. And until next time, be the best part of somebody's day. Thank you for joining the Travel Agent Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Visit thetravelagentpodcast.com for more information about today's episode and other travel agent resources. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for new episodes. Until next time, continue to build a travel business you love.